Key items. Lease agreements can involve various pitfalls and critical issues that should be carefully considered to protect the interests of both landlords and tenants. Here are some typical pitfalls to be aware of. Ambiguous or incomplete terms. Insufficient property description. Lack of clear rent terms. Inadequate maintenance provisions. Failure to address lease renewal and termination. Insufficient provisions for security deposits. Lack of provisions for property modifications and alterations. Failure to address insurance requirements. Non-compliance with local laws and regulations. Inadequate dispute resolution mechanisms. Ambiguous or incomplete terms. Lease agreements should clearly define the rights and obligations of both the landlord and tenant. Ambiguities or incomplete terms can lead to disagreements and disputes regarding the lease terms, payment obligations, maintenance responsibilities, and other crucial aspects of the agreement. Insufficient property description. The lease agreement should include a detailed and accurate description of the leased property, including its address, unit number, and any specific features or restrictions. Failure to provide an adequate property description can result in confusion or disputes regarding the leased premises. Lack of clear rent terms. The agreement should specify the amount of rent, the due date, acceptable payment methods, and any late payment penalties or grace periods. Without clear rent terms, disputes can arise regarding the rent amount, payment schedules, and consequences of non-payment. Inadequate maintenance provisions. Lease agreements should outline the maintenance responsibilities of both the landlord and tenant. Failing to specify these responsibilities can lead to disagreements regarding who is responsible for repairs, upkeep, and property maintenance. Failure to address lease renewal and termination. The agreement should include provisions addressing lease renewal and termination, including notice periods, renewal terms, and conditions for early termination. Without these provisions, both parties may face uncertainty and potential disputes when the lease term ends or when either party wants to terminate the lease early. Insufficient provisions for security deposits. The lease agreement should clearly state the amount of the security deposit, the conditions under which it can be withheld, and the process for its return. Inadequate provisions can result in disputes over the return of the security deposit at the end of the lease term. Lack of provisions for property modifications and alterations. The agreement should specify whether tenants are allowed to make modifications or alterations to the leased property and under what conditions. Without clear provisions, disagreements can arise regarding permissible changes and potential damages to the property. Failure to address insurance requirements. Lease agreements should clarify whether the landlord or tenant is responsible for obtaining and maintaining insurance coverage for the leased property. Neglecting this aspect can lead to potential liabilities and disputes regarding insurance obligations. Non-compliance with local laws and regulations. Lease agreements should adhere to applicable local laws and regulations governing landlord-tenant relationships. Failure to comply with legal requirements can expose both parties to legal risks and potential penalties. Inadequate dispute resolution mechanisms, including a clause that outlines the preferred method of dispute resolution, such as negotiation, mediation, or arbitration, can help streamline the resolution process in case of disagreements between the landlord and tenant. To navigate these pitfalls and critical issues, it is recommended to consult with legal professionals experienced in real estate and landlord-tenant law. They can provide guidance, review the lease agreement, and ensure that the terms and conditions adequately protect the interests of both parties and comply with relevant laws and regulations.